Welcome to the Elissa Goodman Show. Today I have Kelly Gores with me, and it's incredibly exciting because she came out with a documentary that she's been working on probably for a couple of years now, and last fall in October, and it is doing phenomenal. I've seen it twice, and I absolutely, each time, was riveted with it, even though a lot of the things in the documentary and a lot of the people in the documentary I know, and I've read their books and I know their stories, and I've seen some of them who've helped me heal as well, but I still am so riveted. And she really is helping change lives in terms of the whole health arena. There is a thought process to and an energy process to your health, and as well as the physical. So welcome, Kelly.
You. Thank you so much.
You grew up in California.
I did.
And were an actress for many, many years.
Yes.
And I loved seeing you, we were talking earlier, in front of the camera and then also behind the camera. And I was asking you, what did you like better, being in front or behind the camera this time?
Yes. Well, it's always better to be in control as the director, make the big decisions.
Right.
But being in front of the camera in the documentary as kind of the guide and the host was actually really enjoyable because, I was genuinely interested in hearing the answers from these experts and also from the two women that we follow on their healing journeys in the film.
Right.
So it was much easier than acting. It was just like having a conversation that I'm so passionate about and so interested in.
So it was just natural.
So it was super natural.
Yeah. How did this all come about for you in terms of really exploring this road of deeper healing and deeper meaning to health?
Yeah, I think I've always, questioned how things work. My parents, both my grandparents were Catholic. My parents were Catholic. I was very in that mode. And I, once we were about to get confirmed, which is kind of like a bar bat mitzvah.
Right.
I asked, I was like, can I explore other options? Or do I have to get confirmed? And my parents were like, oh, no, I guess, feel free, explore.
Right.
So I've always just really wanted to understand what made sense to me,
Mm-hmm.
And then I read Marianne Williamson's book when I was 20 years old, and I was feeling a little depression in college,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know what that was.
That was young to go into Marianne Williamson at 20.
I know.
It's pretty cool.
And it was that was spirituality to me. That was God. It's, fear versus love.
So you really were attracted to all of that at 20.
So it was, around that time. And then that sent me on that, starting to read all those teachers that we both read,
exactly.
And then ended up here
Those self-healing books and just the spiritual. Yeah, I mean, when you're a seeker, you really want to get deep.
Yes.
And you almost can't stop, right?
Totally. And you want to be empowered. You want to understand that we are co-creators with life, that we're not just victims of some random fate, whether, you believe in the universe or energy or, God or whatever it is that your terminology or your culture calls it. It's that we actually, our vibration and our thoughts and our actions actually determine the course of our life.
Right. That is the epitome of what I love and what I do as well. But so how did you pick the people that you had in the film? Because there's so many good people out there.
Yes.
I mean, that must have been kind of hard.
It was tough. And it was also, I tried not to get hung up on I'm going to miss out on the next best guy. So I really just trusted, I want to put in the experts that their books empowered me. So Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief. I read that book on the treadmill at, the Equinox in Westwood. And it was just mind-blowing. Everybody needs to know this. We're not victims of our DNA. We can inform what genes express based on our lifestyle choices. Marianne Williamson obviously changed my life at age 20. So I put Michael Beckwith. I go to Agape. I used to go to Agape a lot. So I just put in my teachers, and then along the way, I'd ask a couple new people, and if they said no, for instance, I asked Dr. Christiane Northrup.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's so vibrant, and I wanted to get more female experts in there as well.
Exactly.
She said, I'm not available, but if you go to New York, you should interview Anthony William. Wasn't even on my radar.
So she recommended Anthony.
She recommended Anthony,
Interesting.
Kelly Turner, and Kelly Brogan. And
Wow.
Kelly Turner and Kelly Brogan are
Right.
both amazing. So
Some of my favorites too.
yeah, so it's just kind
It's
of
one of my
like
favorite books, Kelly Turner's book.
yes,
I recommend that to everybody.
Radical Remission is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you learned doing this film? Like, I know, is that a hard question to answer?
Yeah.
Because you learned so much,
I
right?
learned so much.
Yeah.
And when you watch the film, there's a lot in there to process. But I think the biggest thing for me is I really feel, I just have this like knowing that anything is possible. I think Anita Moorjani, in her book, Dying to Be Me, she's also in the film, really embodies like that anything is possible with the human body. She was, in a coma, lemon-sized tumors coming out of her skin from her neck to her abdomen. Organs were shutting down. She had no more muscle. She couldn't breathe on her own. And she had a near-death experience and this like aha moment clarity that every decision she made in her life was made out of fear. And once she had that kind of awakening, she came back into her body, and in 3 weeks, all the cancer was gone. And she goes around. So like that's as far gone physically as a human can be.
Right.
And for her body to recover and repair is
From
like
all of
that just shows what's possible.
Right.
So I just have this like incredible like endless. I'm just like, no, everything is possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
do you live like almost daily in those, like feeling that way these days after doing all of this? Because you really immersed yourself in this project and to see all of these phenomenal stories.
Yeah, I mean, I do really have that belief now. And that's the other thing. It's like these subconscious beliefs really run our lives and we're not really aware of them. They're subconscious. And we usually adopt these beliefs, when we're very young.
Yeah.
So people need to become aware of if they have these like negative or limiting subconscious beliefs running their lives, it's going to, affect their behavior. It's going to affect their stress levels because it's the lens they look through life.
Yeah.
So that's like, we must become aware of the beliefs that are kind of running our lives.
So if they're subconscious, most people don't know, right?
Totally unaware.
So they it almost feels like they wait till they have like a tragedy or an illness till something actually wakes them up, which is what you're trying not to have them do, right?
Yeah.
With the film.
And you too, in your work. It's like, let's try to prevent it showing up in the physical.
Right.
But yeah, the intention of the film is to wake people up and go, oh, wait, and look at disease in a different way. It's like, it's your body is not failing you. It's actually trying to talk to you so that you do wake up and make different choices, adjust your thinking, start to have more self-worth or whatever limiting negative subconscious belief program that's been kind of commanding your life,
right?
To start looking at those areas in your life and making changes, and then your body responds.
Right, it does, and it responds so well, right? And so quickly.
Totally.
It can.
Yeah.
There is like a lot of people have been asking me about, and I asked you this too at dinner one night about the woman who you were following who had the boils. I'm sure you know that actually they went away and she did all of those fabulous Reiki and, tapping and all the stuff that she did in the sound therapy, which I want to actually try. And then they came back and then she didn't have the energy to keep going on that more holistic path.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of commitment. It takes money, unfortunately, in today's system, the way it's set up, and that needs to change. And it's
so that was an issue for her.
It was an issue for her, and also I think our conditioning is so deeply rooted that doctors know best in white coats, and they're trained the best. But our medical system has become so specialized that people need to realize that everything is connected. Your emotions, past, if you're holding on to past trauma or holding on to anger and resentment, I mean, a lot of the holistic healers and experts that are in the film and scientists have really connected like a lot of cancers to holding on to anger and resentment.
Right.
There's such a deep connection between our emotional health and our physical health.
Right.
So, she's just so conditioned that, she's been to all of the specialists at all of the major institutions.
Right.
Nobody has answers for her. Her tests come out normal, yet the reaction in her body is not normal.
Right.
So, I'm hoping she starts working with this integrative doctor because he can guide her in a way that she feels comfortable because he's trained in the right way.
So
but
more
also
of a doctor than
yes,
a healer.
But addresses the emotional and really believes that everything is psychosomatic at some level.
So what are some of the people talking about in terms of like reaching out to you after doing that? I mean, I'm sure thousands. And tell me a little bit about the success of the documentary, because
it's pretty wild. I mean, a lot of people are like, "Are you worried about pushback?" Or you know, so far
is that from the medical community or
yeah,
right?
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of skeptics, but as far as like negative feedback, we haven't really gotten a lot. I mean, I would say it's like 100 people to one. That's like one person will comment on Facebook like, "This is all a bunch of BS," you know. Deepak Chopra's, you know, full of quack or whatever. But then there's 100 people going, "Oh my gosh, I've watched it 3 times. It's a game changer. You know, I've shared it with my, you know, it's really given me hope. It's woken me up to, you know, stuff that I need to look at and change my life." So that's the goal, just to kind of make people look at their health in a different way.
And are there some stories that have come back to you that you're blown away with? Anything in particular that someone, I mean, it just really changed and they set their life on a course that they really did heal?
There's a lot of those. There's this one guy in New York. He was this young kid. He came up with his wife and he's like, you know, "Thank you so much for making this. I just happened to like catch it, you know, on Facebook that this was going to be opening theatrically in New York." He came out, he said, "I've been dealing with leukemia." He's like 28 years old. He's like, "It's the 3rd time it's come back." And he's like, "I actually have a chemo port in right now." And he's like, "But this," he's like, I treat everything holistically. That's how, you know, we look at life, you know, so I'm doing the herbs and the essential oils and the diet and everything. But he's like, "Just watching your film really gave me that affirmation that I needed, that I am on the right path and I am healthy and I will heal." And then Rob Wergan, the healer from the film, was there for the Q&A and he did a little extra work on him in the lobby. And then like 2 weeks later, he came to a Rob Wergan event back in New York and the day before his PET scans were clear.
Wow.
So it was just, you know,
that gives me the chills.
It's the belief. It's that belief. If you have that extra like fuel that, you know, whatever you believe is more likely going to happen. That's why I think it's so devastating and infuriating when doctors give people a negative prognosis and say you only have 3 to 6 months to live, or this type of cancer, you know, you have 5 years max. People are going to focus on that and then downward spiral, and that becomes a reality. And I just like,
it's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
So we say, go to the doctor, get your diagnosis, but don't accept the prognosis. Make your own prognosis. Yeah.
I absolutely believe that, because my husband they did that with my husband who passed away. I mean, they basically said, you know, you better get your affairs in order. You have a few, you know, 3 months to live, we think. And it's like, how do they know, Kelly? They don't know that. Though really.
They do. Nobody knows.
No.
Anything is possible. If there's 2% of people that, you know, defy the odds, why can't that be, you know, why can't you be the 2%?
Exactly.
You know, what did they do? And that's what Kelly Turner studies in Radical Remission. She's like, all these people, these 1,000 people, you know, healed from stage 4 cancer, where the doctors said, "There's no hope, there's nothing else we can do, go home and get your affairs in order." And they all just did these 9 essential things that only 2 of them are physical, which is diet and using herbs and supplement. The rest are emotional, spiritual, and mental.
Right. Oh, I know. I'm so tied into, in my book, I talk about the trauma, you know, the PTSD, the toxic mind, because I know when I got cancer, I had a toxic mind. My husband had a toxic mind. I mean, meaning that it was just like a constant, we lived in fear. We lived in the place of not feeling good enough. And that was just, you know, when you get out of that, I'm still in it a little bit.
We all are.
Not as much,
but we're human.
Yeah. But when you get out of that, it's just your whole world opens up into like, it's so different. I mean, things come to you in different ways, and you manifest better things to happen. And you definitely can.
Your immune systems are stronger. So they, you know, we live in a very toxic world right now. So people will be like, well, no, you know, it's not the emotions, it's the toxicity and the fumes in the carpet and the chemicals in our food, and which all of that is true. But the more strong your vessel is, our bodies are so resilient and our immune systems are meant they're designed to clean out toxins, repair, and but if you're stressed out,
Yeah.
if you're holding on to emotional trauma, if you're holding on to negative emotions like anger and resentment, it's going to completely wipe out your immune system, and you're going to be much more susceptible to all the toxins in the environment.
Right. I know. That is so beautifully said. I mean, it is, I wish, and I know now that more and more people are going to be watching Heal and are going to be learning this. I mean, it is coming out. It has to come out.
Yes.
This all has to, the energy of, your body and your mind and the physical have to come together and meet, I think, for all of us to live the healthiest, happiest lives we can.
Totally.
Right? I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I think so.
I'm like, why don't
we agree?
Yeah, exactly. So it should to everybody else out there. What's interesting also is that I see a lot of autoimmune patients these days, and they walk away from the doctor, and the doctor says your body's attacking itself, and I'm like, how can a doctor say that? I mean,
and Anthony William talks about that. He's like, that is devastating. He's like, no, your body is your biggest ally. It's trying to tell you something. It's giving feedback.
Right.
It doesn't speak our language. So it's speaking to us in boils or chronic fatigue or chronic pain or whatever. That's feedback mechanism. So let's start listening to our body and becoming more aware of what's going on in our lives that may be contributing to that.
Right. So have you changed anything emotionally for yourself?
Yeah.
Because you probably already were doing a lot of the work before, right? So
I was.
Did anything kind of go to the next level for you with all of this?
It was really interesting because the process of making a film, as the producers in the room know, is quite stressful. And so we were just really, my crew and I, it was a skeleton crew. There was about 5 of us total.
Whoa.
I mean, we hired like extra
outside
sound people and, but we had a cinematographer, two camera people, my producing partner, myself, and then our editor. So those were like the main players. And throughout the stressful process, we did it in 2 years from start to finish. And it was, just high pressure, low budget.
Right.
And we just really tried to live the work or the message. So we were, anytime like stress would come up or some big like challenge, we're all just like, okay, the universe has our back.
Right.
Like this is for the right reason, So like we're human. We have our moments, but now I can recover and not get sucked into that spiral of stress or fear.
Yeah.
I'll have my moment and I'll let myself express.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, silly. It's all meant to be.
Right.
For the highest good of all involved,
Do you meditate?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Do you do it on a daily basis or just as often as you can?
I do it every day, but I'm not rigid about it.
Okay.
If, my mind, if I'm just juggling too many things and I just need to like shut the door for 10 minutes and breathe, or even like lie down and stick a guided meditation in, I'll do that. I try to do like 20 to 30 minutes a day.
Wow, that's fantastic too.
And then switch it up. I do my own transcendental like mantra meditation, or I have great guided meditations too that also have frequencies and different
like
sounds behind that actually drop your brain waves into the theta state.
So like what the sound guy was talking about?
Exactly.
Just a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
On the movie.
So
wow. Because I had not heard of that. I mean, I've heard of, I've never known that you can go and have that done.
Yes. He's amazing.
He is. And he's here in LA.
He's actually in San Diego.
Oh.
I know. We may have used a shot from LA going to his office.
Right. Because you look like you're driving around Century City.
Yeah. Well, production cheating.
That was,
but that was Century City. But he's actually in San Diego, in Carlsbad, and that's the cool thing, because he really was an example in the film of mixing science with woo-woo. So he's healing people with sound and dropping them into their frequency that puts them in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is when, they heal.
Yes.
And
it's a place where we don't live.
And very few of us can get to on our own.
Yeah.
But he measures it scientifically and on with technology to measure and record that exact frequency that specific body needs. So it's really cool.
God, that is pretty powerful. Yeah. What about food and like nutrition and all that for you? Have you always been healthy eater? And
no, I was never certainly not growing up. I think I was raised on McDonald's. I was a very picky eater. I'm amazed that like my organs are functioning at this point. But again, they can repair themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And then I started eating greens like vegetables, I think, after I gained weight in college. And then I was like, oh my gosh, but I was living in Spain at the time. So I started eating more of the Mediterranean diet.
Okay.
Dropped the weight in like 2 seconds. And now I appreciate clean food.
Yeah.
But in my late 20s, I was like running 7 miles a day. I'm an athlete, you know, so that was my way of like, that was my therapy. It clears my mind. But I was eating, you know, frozen yogurt for lunch and cereal for dinner, washed down with, you know, $2 Chuck red wine, you know, so I was just, you know,
not so healthy.
I was not healthy, but I was just not aware. So I enrolled in the Institute of Integrative Nutrition.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I became aware, and I was like, oh, no wonder I have a little acid going on because I'm eating dairy with a ton of sugar in it, red wine, and processed cereal, you know? So it's just becoming aware. And now I don't have any stress about eating anymore either. It's like I eat everything. I'll eat a French fry, you know, I'll eat hamburgers. I eat meat. I know a lot of people don't eat meat. But I just cut it down. I'm just aware, and I eat clean sources. And I'm also aware of how eating red meat affects the planet too. Yeah. So I'm as conscious as I can be, but without beating myself up or stressing about it, you know?
Right. So you're a bit of a flexitarian.
I'm a flexitarian.
I love that.
I listen to my body.
Yeah. And that's also what you're sort of preaching or, you know, helping with the movie. It's just like, you know, you've got to listen to your intuition and your instincts and your body and, you know, not have to be so restrictive or
rigid. You know,
Yeah. Because that also drives your mind crazy.
Correct.
In a lot of ways.
And that stress is going to, you know, be counterproductive to the kale salad you're eating.
Right. Because if you're stressed eating a kale salad, the kale salad's not really going to
do
great things for you.
Exactly.
Right. You're not going to digest it. Where can people find the Heal documentary at the moment?
So it's on iTunes, Amazon, and Vimeo.
Okay.
Also on DVD. You can go to healdocumentary.com.
Okay.
And purchase it there. Order the DVD. You can do that on Amazon as well.
Okay.
And then, you know, we're negotiating kind of Netflix and TV right now. So hopefully in the future it'll be more places. But yeah.
So I ask all my guests if they had to sum up their mission in one word.
One word.
I know.
No. I would say the message of the film, I think, you know, it's somewhere between hope, inspiration, and empowerment. But I think the big thing is empowerment.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm done with the victim mentality.
Yeah.
We're not victims of our genes. We're not victims of, you know, some scary virus out there. Let's take responsibility for our health back and our life and our lifestyle choices and our emotions and our beliefs and you know, build up this vessel so it's strong and it's resilient and it can have, you know, optimize your experience of life, you know? So it's empowerment. It's like, no, we're not victims, people. Let's make better choices and live happier lives.
I'm right there with you. Thank you.
Thanks
for being on my show.
That was so fun. Thanks.